Okay, we are back again with another interesting keynote exploring NFTs in the metaverse, virtual world, virtual land, gaming. The keynote speaker, Malcolm Tan, Singapore. He's the Chief Strategy Advisor, Technicorum Holdings. He's a serial entrepreneur, founder of Gravitas International, founder of Crypt Technologies, advisor, Technicorum Holdings, strategic advisor to PinkSwap, and he has been authoring two books on ICO in Singapore, and he is into fully DeFi and NFT. So go ahead, Malcolm, make your presentation.
Okay, thanks very much, Rajan. Thanks for your kind introduction. Hello, everyone. Good to be here and speaking with you guys again. So this is an interesting, very topical topic right now, right? NFTs in the metaverse. So I'll share a bit about the various experiences I've had and what's new right now. I got into the crypto space since late 2017, and since the early days, NFTs were not so popular at that point, and some of the projects were already going into VR, AR. I was in fact the advisor for about 5 to 10 projects in this space. One of them is still around in terms of the products. They have done quite well in terms of product rollout. And they created a VR platform with SDKs, so developers can just simply use the SDKs and create their own HTML5 kind of virtual worlds. And they even had brands like Ford creating showrooms. Ethereum Foundation actually bought a spot in their virtual world as well. So they were already doing VR, right? Then there was another project that was doing gaming VR. So you can just put on a headset and you can play inside a gaming environment using VR. But those were not NFTs. Then later in 2018, there was another big project that I was involved in. It's actually issued by a listed company out of Berlin, German stock exchange listed, Frankfurt Stock Exchange. And they also did an ICO, and they had Paris Hilton as a brand ambassador, and it did quite well. It raised a few tens of millions of dollars, and they had a fully working product, and they had Real Madrid players and Bayern Munich players scanning their avatars. So it was a virtual world, but they already had a working product. So if you put on the headset, you can actually play table tennis with your favorite sports star, or you can get into various games with all these virtual avatars. And one of the things that they were doing was to build a virtual world. And of course, as all of you know, in the metaverse, there is a big project called Decentraland, and they have been doing quite well. I think they are top 30, top 40 coins right now, and they have been growing their ecosystem. And Decentraland has a lot of big names involved as well. Recently, there was a big hoo-ha about two neighbors in Decentraland. One of them put up a billboard upset the other one, and the other one put up a wall to block his virtual view, right? And demanded a ransom for the neighbor to pay in order for him to take it down. So, we're looking at very, very interesting things, concepts in the world right now. So even the metaverse has value, right? NFTs are now going on sale, not only for virtual assets, but of course real assets as well. Increasingly, entrepreneurial people are coming up with NFTs to represent property, and some of these properties have already been sold in the UK, in the Middle East, I think in the US as well, and it's quite interesting. A lot of entrepreneurs, a lot of real estate owners are thinking of tokenizing, simply because it's topical, and it's also very easy to flip the properties, right? Instead of going through all the usual legal documentation and traditional paperwork, you can already sell real estate. And what's really interesting in this topic is how this is translating into the virtual world. So I can tell you from personal experience, two projects that have just recently come up. One of them is work with the government in Singapore, and they own the maps in Singapore, right? So the Singapore Law Ministry actually owns, under the Singapore Land Authority, the maps, metadata of all the maps, streets in Singapore. And a project that actually has a signed agreement with the Singapore Land Authority is entitled to use this. And they came to me asking, how to do this project. And so we discussed the ideas, right? So these are some of the ideas that the audience here can certainly take on. Uh, Intellectual property ideas are all over the place, right? It's all a matter of execution. So for me, I'm very open with my business ideas. If people like it, by all means, go ahead and do. So some of the ideas around maps, we discussed Pokemon Go, because Pokemon system actually utilizes map data, right? You can go and search Pokemons and go around different environments. You can see like real AR, and the real world images. Then there's also a Monopoly game that's virtual. That's also using the same concept of street maps. So imagine if you have real world data, you have your maps, and you have the metadata that goes along with it. Which businesses are in your locality, like platforms like Baidu, like Google Maps. I think they have this kind of data. This is going to be very interesting and valuable to e-commerce platforms as well. And in fact, an entrepreneur that I spoke with about 3 or 4 years ago was telling me about a new concept which I hadn't even heard of. It's called MR, right? So he says everyone knows what's AR, VR. I bet you don't know what's MR. And I said, yeah, I didn't know what's MR. So he said there's also the middle layer, right? So in between this, there's also the metadata that you can recall, and then it shows you all the store data. So an interesting application of this is to have a metaverse uh, anchored on the real world, and you can do e-commerce. You can actually go virtually to different sites and then participate in the activities and the products that they're offering as well. You can do your shopping online. You can buy products and services. You can attend courses. So some of the older generations, when I describe all these, they say, "Oh, just like Second Life." And I say, "Yes, exactly like Second Life." Right? Second Life is a virtual world environment where you can interact and do a lot of things that you can do in the old world, in the real world. So this is a big opportunity in terms of the metaverse as well. You can create virtual worlds exactly like Decentraland, or you can anchor them on the real world and create NFT representations. Imagine that the building next to you, or even the house that you live in, is an NFT, and that NFT represents a unit in the metaverse. So just like the project that I mentioned earlier, the German listed company project, uh, where you can have lots, and then those lots you can do whatever you like. You can build your own plot, right? You can build on it. But some of these can be anchored in the real life. So if your next door neighbor is LV, all the girls will go there, right? So you can virtually go to that unit, and then you can do your e-commerce and shopping, because you can anchor the objects to actually what you want to do. So that offers an opportunity. And just like in the so-called real world, the shop lots are very important. If there's a big brand next to you, then your brand equity goes up. Your unit becomes more valuable. So just like I mentioned earlier, also in Decentraland with the two squabbling neighbors, they eventually settled, by the way. So anyway, if you bought an expensive seafront view, right? So you have the sea view. That's going to be worth more than an inside inland kind of view where there's not much of a view. So just like in the real world, where if a taller building gets built in front of you, your equity drops because now your view is blocked. But if you have an unfettered view to the sea, that's worth a lot. In common parlance, we call it the $1 million view, right? You won't have $1 million view if there's a big building in front of you blocking. So in the virtual world, that's also really happening already. So that's a very interesting phenomenon. And the virtual world can be both anchored in normal ERC20 tokens or any other kind of utility tokens, or increasingly, people are using NFTs to represent these as well. So this is a huge application that I can see. And earlier I mentioned I would talk about two projects. So one of them is this government-linked project, where now this particular project owner has access to all the map data. So the Ministry of Law says, we have this, but we don't know what to do with it. we think you know what to do with it, so please go figure something out and give us a proposal. Right. So that's something that we're working on right now. We are going to propose something along the lines of all this virtual land, the metadata, the shops that are inside, and then this opens up a whole new avenue for e-commerce. with the restrictions imposed by COVID, a lot of businesses cannot function, and everything has to go online and to e-commerce. So this opens up a whole new value proposition, right? The virtual real estate is going to be important. A second big use case is also quite interesting. So recently with COVID, the whole world has taken a hit in terms of tourism, in terms of aviation. Resorts are doing badly, hotels are doing badly, room rates are all going down, rooms are not being taken up. I know several hotel owners, some of them are my friends. I used to own a hotel myself, so I understand this totally. Right, and this opportunity came up from a very well-known tourist destination. So this particular resort area, tourist destination, came to this business associate of mine and said, "Hey, what is this thing about NFTs and what is this thing about all these virtual worlds? Can you do something for us? Because now the whole world has frozen over in terms of tourism. Only the domestic tourists are coming. All the international guests cannot come. We are losing tremendous amounts of money, and nothing can be done, right? So can you help us? Because figure something out, give us a proposal so that we can help all our association members, all the resort owners, the hotel owners." So the proposal that we are talking about right now with this particular island, it's a very famous tourist destination, is to tokenize. It's basically same thing, to create a virtual landscape which basically mirrors the real life landscape, and then to allow the hotel owners, the resort owners to have their own plot of land, so that NFT can represent that particular building or that particular pool, poolside environment or whatnot, a resort. There are all these famous beaches at this place. So each beach could be a whole collection of NFTs. Each of them could be an NFT. And then the owners would be able to monetize those if people host virtual parties, virtual events, just like this event right now that we are doing is a webinar. Some of the formats of conferences, you can see the table layouts and the formats and the booths, etc. So all these can be also replicated in the virtual world. So this is another interesting use case that has recently come up, and more than one, of course, looking at this, not just this resort island. I'm sure all resort islands are already considering it. Hotels are reinventing themselves. Some are offering out day rates, right, like staycations to entice the local population. Some are even converting themselves into workstations. To get away from home, you can come into a hotel, rent a room for the day, work there, and then go home, right? And of course, have a nice meal together with this package. So there are all these opportunities right now, and virtualizing the real estate, creating virtual worlds, virtual land, and in some cases anchoring the real world to the virtual world is also going to create more value propositions. So suddenly people don't need to go physically to a location. You could actually be exactly like Second Life or like Decentraland. You could have a unit, then you can get your avatar, walk in there, interact with people there, and your staff don't even need to come to the office. You could have a virtual office, and each of them could have their avatar within your virtual world, and they could come, and then people can interact just like we are doing through Zoom, or in this case eMEET. You can also have your face-to-face, well, not face-to-face, virtual face-to-virtual face, or online webinar face-to webinar face, right? And then you can have your conversations there. And online, what it looks like is your two avatars interacting at one common location, which is the virtual world. So there are all these applications which are very exciting, very interesting. And with all the innovations in e-commerce coming up, you could actually just go and browse, right? I think a lot of ladies wanting the store experience again. Store experiences can also be had, right? You could also have virtual assistants, whether it's real people interacting, or you could have AI and virtual assistants there. They can also interact and talk to the customers. So this brings up a whole new avenue for NFTs. And of course, gaming is one of the big avenues. A lot of the innovations in technology actually come from gaming. And the gaming world is very much into VR, AR. If you go to Korea, for example, they're always the first guys to take up all the new technology. Virtually every shopping mall now has a VR arcade. Right, you can go in and have tremendous VR virtual reality experiences. 5G has a huge uptake rate in Korea. Right, they're always the first guys to adopt all the new technology. And with 5G, a lot of things can be streamed. A lot of data can be streamed at a very quick rate. So the experience, the virtual world experience, the virtual arena gaming experience is very rich in 5G connected countries. So gaming, of course, is big. More and more VR games are coming up. Like what I mentioned earlier, one of my early clients in the crypto advisory space was creating this VR headsets. So when I met them in Moscow and I signed up with them as their advisor, then they brought me to their unit with all the cameras. All the walls were full of cameras everywhere, and then put on the goggles and I could play in this virtual reality, virtual gaming environment. And it wasn't great. It was, of course, it was still a beta version game, but basically once you don it, then you can move around in the place, and then you can take your virtual gun and you can shoot at the monsters that come up, right? So that was quite interesting. And of course, like I said, today in a lot of virtual arcade centers, this is also possible. So these guys actually created portable systems. They could pack them in the box, go to a roadshow, and then install inside a small room, and people can have that virtual experience as well, gaming. So it's not just these kinds of games. Now with goggles, you can also do that. So you, in the comfort of your home, you can buy all these VR, AR goggles, and then you can turn on the games and you can interact with the system. So those of you who have watched movies like Ready Player One, that is actually what a lot of these VR, AR, MR people are developing towards. And sooner or later, all these so-called science fiction will come into fruition. Right. Today, what we're doing in a lot of simple everyday applications in our world would seem like science fiction to people 50 years ago, 100 years ago, even 20 years ago. A lot of the changes that are happening today couldn't have been imagined 20 years ago. But you have all these movies with smart watches like a few decades ago, and everyone can basically wear a smartwatch and talk through their watches right now. So these are all applications that are developing. Very exciting to see all these new applications, and there's so many innovations that are coming up right now. So NFTs in the metaverse, that's basically this topic. Are now having a lot of applications, right? Over the last few weeks, in fact, this space has exploded. Being one of the advisors, being the chief advisor for the KingSwap project, we implemented NFTs very long ago, 6 months. Right? 6 months in this space is called very long ago. And the rest of the world basically started exploding when people bought that $69 million NFT. And then, last week, someone hacked it and created a replica. So there's all this hoo-ha. But we've experienced a lot of industry interest from musicians, from artists, from auction houses, from everyday people. We within our group we have two influencers, our group CEO and one of our subsidiaries directors as well. Both are leading Clubhouse discussions. So Clubhouse is now getting very, very popular as well. And one of the most interesting topics, or one of the most trending topics that people are subscribing for, all these discussions about NFTs and how they can be utilized. I've spoken at one of these sessions, and I'm hearing from the feedback that from our colleagues that these are all very well received. There's so many questions from all the creators because now suddenly there's a new lifeline, right? For the longest time, musicians, artists, etc. were kind of suffering. They weren't able to reach out to a global audience or to more potential buyers, and now with the advent or with the popularity of NFTs, suddenly this whole world has exploded. Whatever you have created in the offline world can now be digitized and go online and actually sell for even higher value. Some music labels have been making the news recently. Some games have been making the news, like NBA Top Shots. That's tremendous, right? The guys are in beta and they already have a valuation of $300 million, and the top NBA players love it. They buy it. And I was just reading an article today, one of LeBron James' early photos. Uh, I looked at it, it's nothing special. That thing is $5.2 million. It's like, wow, it's crazy. So the art world is gaining a lot. The music world is gaining a lot. The creative world in general is gaining a lot from the popularity of NFTs. And suddenly NFTs is hotly research topic. The first time I talked about NFTs, I can remember it was like early 2018. So one of the top platforms today, Mintables, actually came. The CEO came to me, talked about seed funding, fundraising, etc. 3 years ago, and recently I reconnected with him. So it's great. He has done a great job with Mintables. He has made it one of the top platforms in the world, top five, I would say. And Mark Cuban invested in it, right? And Mark Cuban has recently invested in a few of these other NFT platforms and marketplaces. So this is a huge opportunity that a lot of the traditional so-called old world venture capitalists, angel investors, private equity funds and investors are now looking into the space and seeing the great value that NFTs can bring. Just yesterday in one of the group chats that I'm in, one of our former employees who's now an entrepreneur was talking about tokenizing his mushroom farm, right? So creating an NFT for every mushroom plot. And about a month ago, I had a discussion with one of our top marketing advisors and a business partner, and he was saying he wants to tokenize the flower pots of his cannabis cannabis farm. So they have containers and they grow cannabis plants inside. So he wants to install a camera so that people can see it. Well, great idea, right? Imagine you're an investor, you want to see what your product is like, and they have a live feed. So if you own the NFT, you have the rights to see how your plant looks. Right? So that's very interesting. It reminds me of like 10, 15 years ago when I invested into wine. Returns were decent, right? 15-20% a year. After a while, I pulled out of it because there were more interesting investment opportunities. But it's the same, you buy it, you buy an allocation of wine. You can actually go and open up the container and have a look take out your wine. You can drink it, you can sell it, you can show it to your people or your friends, or you can just leave it there, right? It's a store of value. It's an investment item. So NFTs that represent something of value can also be done that way. So whatever is now possible in the metaverse, whatever is now possible in the virtual world, can also have a direct connection to the real world, right? And that's very, very interesting. And now we are talking about Elon Musk talking about the Mars missions, and entire new worlds can be created. You can create your Mars ecosystem, you can create your moon ecosystem, and whoever you can convince to buy a plot there, that's something they have. And eventually, when we have more manned missions that can go there, or even virtual tourists that can, all these multimillionaires or billionaires who pay for the expensive tickets to go there and experience that, you can start planting flags. You can say, this is my real land, right? And this is the virtual representation of it. This is the NFT that represents my land on the moon, or my land on Mars, right? And I think that's fantastic. So I'm very excited to be part of this whole growing ecosystem. We are seeing so many deals coming up, so many entrepreneurs who have all these great ideas, how to use NFTs and how to anchor them to the real world, or even just create virtual worlds, create totally new games, virtual worlds. And there was another project that one of my business associates recommended, and he gave me a virtual an NFT that represented a virtual patch. So it was basically a cannabis patch, right? And they have all sorts of different plants or variants. And if you trade it up, it can be worth something of value, right? So, something can be created like that. And that was actually a virtual plot. Imagine that on this map, it's actually representing a real world plot. So it can be that. It can be a virtual representation of a real world plot. And then you can actually see how it develops as well. So there are a lot of different opportunities. There are a lot of different prospects, a lot of different angles that people can approach from. But certainly, this is something very topical right now. And I'm sure a lot of new applications will be coming up. I'm looking forward to seeing more ideas from all the entrepreneurs out there, all the projects coming up. And those who are interested in what I described just now, you can feel free to ping me, and then we can talk about it, because we are actually working on some of these projects that I mentioned already. So it's a quite opportune time, and thanks very much, Rajan, for inviting me to speak on this very interesting, very topical subject matter. And yep, so I'll stop here. Any questions that I can answer?
Yes, Malcolm, there's one question I put up.
Sure.
Gaming NFTs or sports-based NFTs like NBA Top Shots, which segment will grow fast?
Let's see, where is that? The questions. Okay. Is gaming NFTs or sports-based NFTs, like, which segment will grow fast? Okay, all these segments definitely grow very fast, right? The gaming world is exploding. Sports-based NFTs just came up a few months ago, and they're already so popular. There is NBA Top Shots, I think that's the biggest, and then there's another one. Cricket, I think, is also, there's someone trying to do that. So a lot of the sportsmen are already thinking about creating their content and making an NFT out of that and making money, right? So you have another bite at that cherry. Now, gaming NFTs are definitely one of the biggest, because I myself was one of the early stage esports players. So I started esports like 20 plus years ago. Represented Singapore for some games. I was a top esports player for some of the games, and from then, prize monies were so low, right? Prize monies back then was like $10,000, $20,000. Now the top games in the world, if you win the prize, it's like millions of dollars, and you have full-time professional gamers forming teams. I know some esport team owners as well. So so it's very interesting. Instead of saying, oh, which NBA team or which English Premier League team do you own, yeah, I say which esports team do you own. And one of the hugest clubs just came up for sale. I was just told by one of my business associates from Europe, and he was so excited. Like yesterday or the day before, he said, "Okay, Malcolm, here's our opportunity. XXX club is now open to acquisition. So let's do something, right?" So games are always something that connects everybody, because everybody has hobbies, everybody has passions. I think it's a huge space. I would say gaming NFTs are probably more of a utility or more of a use case, and sports-based NFTs will come and go, because baseball cards have been around for the longest time, right? You can always buy your baseball cards or your top players, and they've been around for decades, but they haven't really exploded. I think this is just a passing phase, but games will always be there, and they will always grow. And along with all the trends, I think games will grow and dominate, because that's something with a very low barrier to entry. And the youngsters are great at gaming, right? So if your kids start playing, and then after they grow old, they keep playing and they become champions, then so I think gaming, if to answer this question, gaming NFTs would probably be a bigger horizon. How do you make your own NFTs? So someone was just asking. We at Technicorum Group, we actually help to mint NFTs. Actually, all you need to do is to know a bit of coding, right? So our developers and our deputy CTO was just telling us a couple of weeks ago. He was just giving us the steps, and it's fairly easy. I've seen it. I haven't pressed the buttons myself to do it, but it's easy. If you know how to do creating your own NFT, it's very easy. And now there are more and more platforms that are enabling this. So a lot of marketplaces, auction platforms for NFTs allow you to mint tokens as well. For us within our group, we are also creating that capability. We are also working on something. I think Rajan also has something to share in a few weeks' time in terms of marketplace. So there are a lot of marketplaces that now allow you to mint, right? So it's not difficult to answer you. All you need to do is talk to a decent developer, and he will know how to do it. But if you want to have more smart contract capability or to do more things with your NFTs, then you will need to talk to more professional people. And one more question. Where do you think the NFT landscape is going now that mainstream media has already picked up on it? I think this is going to keep growing, but it will have a natural lifespan, right? The value is the initial adopters will always price up the market, and then after that, when people have come down a bit, then all the top prices would be at the early tranche, and then it will take a while to gestate, and in the third phase, then the big values will come in. So I think we are probably in the die down or cool off a bit phase right now. So it might entirely go up again. And you must also be aware this is a very interesting subculture. I would say cryptocurrencies are still a subculture because the mainstream don't really know about it. They have started to hear about it, started to buy into it, but very few people are into it. But a lot of the crazy valuations that you're hearing are simply all these online traders who make astronomical amounts of money. Like just 1-2 weeks ago, I was talking to a business partner here in Singapore, and she was saying that the OTC traders are making so much money from the online trading. A few months ago, they were doing cash outs of 10,000. Now they are doing hundreds of thousands. So they have made a killing on the crypto markets, and that's driving a lot of these NFT sales. Because imagine your whole day you are spending 12 to 16 hours in front of your screen looking at your trades, and then you're making money, so you're happy, and all you can do is click some buttons, right? So just press some buttons, buy some NFTs, and this is really what happens. And this is not the new it's not a new thing. This actually happened in the poker space, because I used to be in a semi-professional poker circuit as well, and I knew a lot of the top players in Asia, and these are all like really degen gamblers, right? So their day job is to grind at the poker table and make the thousands or the tens of thousands of dollars. And because it was so easy for them to make money, so they just go and buy it or buy stuff or spend it, or just go degenerate somewhere else on another game and lose it because they are not specialists in that. So easy money made, easy money going. So for all these crypto millionaires and the traders who suddenly came into money, it's exactly the same situation as all the gaming millionaires. They made the money playing poker. It was so easy to come by, so they are willing to spend that and buy very very high value items. Yeah. So you can see that happening in the crypto world right now. Gas prices as a deterrent for NFTs. At KingSwap, we have implemented layer 2. So we are using layer 2 as a way for people to escape the high gas fees. So just as a way of example, those who are using our mainnet version are usually paying fees of like $30 to $50, sometimes even $100 or $200. But if they use our layer 2 implementation, it's less than 10 cents, right? For the same kind of activity, because we are using layer 2 technology, it costs like 1 to 5 cents typically for most transactions. So the answer for the ETH NFTs is you can use an ETH mainnet NFT, but do it on a layer 2 technology, then it'll be much cheaper. Okay, I think that's the end of the questions for now.
Okay, thank you, Malcolm, for the excellent insights on the
You're welcome.
metaverse, gaming, sports. These are all the hot segments picking up now.
Yes.
I think after 2 years, all will become a commodity, I guess, right?
There are a lot of things. The trends keep changing. I would say in the finance space, the trends keep changing every 3 to 5 years. If you look at all the brokers and the people trying to make the big deals, like 10, 15 years ago, people were selling bank guarantees and SPLCs, and then after that it became Bitcoin, and then after that it became PPE and masks, and now it's back to NFTs and crypto. So yeah, every few years the trends change.
Trend changes. Yes.
Yeah.
That's great. Thank you. So look forward again for
Right.
the last panel discussion.
Right. Thank you. Cheers.
Thank you.